You did indeed hear the bell on this Thursday, July 30th. Let's take a look at those numbers. Here you have the S&P closing up around 11 points there to 986 and change. Of course, these numbers will shift around, can shift around a little bit at the close. You see the Dow closing up just about a gain of 80 points to 9149, 9150, moving before your very eyes. And the Nasdaq gaining 0.8% to 1984. So it looks like we lost a little bit of steam in this rally, but still finished with more than half of the gains that we saw at the highs of the day. Let's get a breakdown of what drove the markets today. Suzanne O'Halloran joins us from the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Brian Luke is at our markets desk and gives us a look at today's Treasury auction. And still with us is our featured guest, Bill Stone from PNC Advisors. Suzanne, I want to start with you on the floor. What do you got?
Thanks, Matt. You know, of course, a strong rally today. It was very focused on those better-than-expected corporate earnings. No matter how the companies posted them, investors liked those numbers. We had the S&P rising pretty much over 1%. We saw the S&P pull back a few minutes ahead of the close, but we are still really hovering at that 9-month high. To give you an earnings example, MasterCard had a strong quarter. They're raising fees, cutting costs. MasterCard saw a nice rally today as well. We saw an even bigger rally in shares of General Electric. That was a huge story down here. We had Goldman Sachs turning more positive on GE. GE was the big percentage gainer in the Dow. Last check up at least 7%. Goldman Sachs saying buy the stock after Congressman Barney Frank, the Democrat from Boston, telling Bloomberg News that the regulatory environment may be improving for firms like Goldman Sachs that have General Electric that have a finance arm, and they should be allowed to keep them. So Goldman Sachs is there. General Electric is one of the companies that has been plagued by regulatory overhangs, and tech shares, you know, they actually underperformed the broader market within the S&P. They still rose, but they're not as robust as material financial stocks today. And Motorola was an interesting story as well. They narrowed their losses, but Motorola, Matt, is really a turnaround story. So a lot of folks not really looking towards Motorola as an indication of an economic recovery or an improving trend in cell phone demand. But nonetheless, that stock had a big rally today, up about 8 to 9%. Matt?
What are you hearing, Suzanne, about the rally we saw today? It was moving pretty hot and heavy, lost a little bit of steam. Does it still, or are you hearing from traders on the floor that this rally still maybe has enough momentum to carry us into Friday?
Well, a lot of that is going to depend on those GDP figures. Even though they are a backward number, traders would like to see evidence that perhaps things aren't getting worse or less bad, as one trader put it today. So more data points like we saw with the jobless claims showing perhaps a stabilization will certainly help the S&P extend its weekly rally. We have some earnings tomorrow. Chevron, not as many earnings, of course, as today. Over 50 companies reported during the day. So the big focus in the morning, absent of any other news we don't know about, is certainly going to be that economic number as well today.